Welcome everyone to IBP Media. This is Kulu, and today I will be doing a special Q&A here today, as I will be speaking to my followers from iblackpharaoh.com and answering questions. I have thousands and thousands of emailed questions about things that I'm doing going forward, about ancient African history. As you well know, I am an ancient African historian teaching the miseducation of African history. So if you got a question, please leave it down here below in the chat, and I'll be happy to answer your questions and comments as I see them come in. But for now, today is going to be about some Q&As from the actual website www.iblackpharaoh.com. If you would like to submit a question, I will put it in the chat as well. But let's get started on some of these questions. What is the big deal about African history in Egypt? Okay, so this is a very, very easy question. Just as ancient Rome and ancient Greece is considered to be the pinnacle of European history, ancient Egypt, as well as ancient Kush, is the pinnacle of antiquities for African studies as well. And it's very pivotal for African historians to claim ancient Egypt as a Black African civilization, as it was, in order to restore the true history of Africa. Now, what we've seen through films, novels, and other textbooks, even our Common Core curriculum, has depicted ancient Egypt as something other than African. So I think it's very pivotal for Africans to reclaim this history of ancient Egypt and restore it back to its true African context. What will your TEDx talk be about? I've recently been selected, for those who don't know, and thank you for the person who asked this question about the TEDx talk. I've been selected to be a TEDx speaker and TEDx Elif, and I'm really, really, really excited about it. And I want to send a shout out to Netta Jenkins for looking out for your boy. I want to send a shout out to Adi for also giving me this opportunity to speak. Now, my talk is going to be about the untold golden age of Africa. Many of those who are my followers, who've been following me for a long time, you well know that I speak on the miseducation of African history, and I try to help correct what has been miseducated. I mean, we have over 6,000 years of Black history that hasn't been accounted for. So I feel it's very important to tell the story from an African perspective. And I think it's important for all history, not just those of African descent. I think anyone who's looking to understand the origins of humanity, I think it's very important to know African history as well. Louis Leakey, the professor, anthropologist, and archaeologist, once let it be known that the first human remains was found in Eastern Africa. According to this, has become widely accepted in evolution, science, and biology. But if you believe in the Bible, like myself, then you would be inclined to think about more about creation, which also that road leads back to Africa as well, as ancient Egypt was considered to be the first mega civilization that the world has ever seen. So this, yes, is very important for Africans, but as well as those in the diaspora, as well as non-Africans as well, to connect to the origins of humanity, period. All right, the third question, number 3. Why is African history so important? Okay, as I just mentioned, African history is, Africans were the first master builders, the pyramid builders. Africans were the first people who created the metric system, were the first people that created the first calendar. Again, these are achievements that are still being carried on to this very day. So it is very important for all humans to know the history of Africa in order to connect back with its origin. It's like a case of what we have with our Common Core curriculum today is more like a case of the tree branch, right? the tree branch growing so strong, but it looks back to hate its own roots. And the roots is Africa. But if you understand that, the tree branch is where the strength of the tree lies. So we have to understand, I'm sorry, not the tree branch, the roots is where the strength of the tree lies, not the tree branch. So we have to understand that that's important to all history. Why do Africans get the brunt of miseducation and plunder? Okay, so we must understand this. Um, and thank you for this chat as well. This question, this is a very good question. We must understand that Africa is the richest continent when it comes to resources. And it is the original um, continent where wealth was found. I mean, you talk about ancient Kush was the land of considered to be the land of gold. We know what ancient Egypt had, ancient Mali, where Mansa Musa had given away millions of dollars in gold. His estimate was over 500 billion. So if we understand that history, we'll understand why the European and Arab nations were in the scramble for Africa, because Africa had the wealth. This is where most of the wealth and resources was in the ancient days. So this is why it has been subject to plunder. In fact, for every mega civilization, it is absolutely pivotal for every mega civilization to have some sort of exploitation of Africa in order for it to thrive. It is very sad, but it is very true. Without the exploitation of Africa, no mega civilization in the world could survive. So this is why Africans get the brunt of miseducation and Africans get the brunt of plunder as well. Are African Americans actually Africans or indigenous Americans? This has become a question over the past 2 or 3 years that has I've answered this over and over again, and it's a very touchy subject to some, but I'll answer it as best as I possibly can. African American people are mixed up of many different people. We are mixed up of many different people. We have many different Europeans, some with Native Americans, but predominantly we are still African people. Okay, but we are still a mixed people. So for us to say that we are indigenous to this land, I would not agree with you on that. What I will say though is that Africans were here before the transatlantic slave trade began. And there's evidence of this through They Came Before Columbus by Ivan Van Sertima. There is evidence of this from Leo Wiener, who talked about this African explorations in America with different plants and the bottle gorse, the squash being found in America that are West African plants that were found here before Columbus. And even Columbus documented in his second voyage of Black people trading with Native Americans before he was there. So there is evidence, even in South America to this day, we're finding very similar architectural constructions, very similar to ancient Egypt. We're seeing the Almlek heads that feature African people. It has the features of African people. So we have a good idea that Black people or African people were already on the United States of America, what we call the United States of America to this day, prior to colonization of the West. So it's a very good question. It's one of those things that's growing. What we're finding is many groups are coming to, try to claim different cultures. You have some who would say, "Hey, I am Native American," like the ADOS movement, or you have others that say, "I'm a Hebrew Israelite." And Hebrew Israelite really is a religion more than a race, particularly. So then you have others claiming to be other things. But I will say this and make this very clear. African people were the first people to circumnavigate the globe. So African people are everywhere, and they've been everywhere for hundreds or thousands of years. So it's very important to know that African people have been all over and have been mixing with different people around the world. So this is why you have various colors, complexions all over. We're just a very mixed people. So, but do I submit to the ideology of ADOS? No, I do not. I do not believe that um, African American people are indigenous to America. I believe maybe hundreds of years, maybe thousands of years, we were here before, setting up colonies and doing magnificent things. But indigenous, you're talking about going back to the BC era. I would say absolutely not. I would say we are still African people. So please, if you are interested in leaving a question, please go to www.iblackpharaoh.com. And then you're going to go to the contact section, the contact, and leave your question there. And on my next segment, I will be happy to answer your question. We've got thousands of questions here that's been here for a long time. So I've taken this time to come out and answer some of these questions that I see fit. I mean, some of the questions are just ridiculous, so I ain't gonna even touch those. But the questions that are reasonable questions, I will do my best to answer them. So look out for the TEDx Talk. Look out for what IBP Media has going on with the Fan Cave Sports Talk, as well as the pop-up show with the Joker. We are doing some big things. We got some other things coming really, really soon. Look out for the TEDx Talk. Very, very excited for that. Shay, Winston, and I will be doing some traveling next year, 2023, back to the continent, back to places like Mexico, the Caribbean, um, and re-uncovering the great African history that you want to know, and showing the actual facts of these places and their historical value to world history. So thank you. This is Emmanuel Kulu, African historian and author. Please make sure you go get I, Black Pharaoh, Rise to Power, which is on Amazon right now. And also make sure you go grab I, Black Pharaoh, Golden Age of Triumph. Okay, these are books that will become the next major motion picture film, restoring the true history of ancient Kemet back in its true African context. Peace and love to everybody. Ashe.